Welcome back. Still watching Business Incorporated right here on Channels Television. Now, just before we head to the market, well, it's still the market. Let's see Lafarge. Lafarge also, they did release their results. If we could have the slide, there you have it. Lafarge for the second quarter, the profit after tax, 37.9 billion after tax. That's an increase of about 13%. Earnings per share also went up 18.11, and then total assets also went up. So we're getting some positive results at the close of trade today. There you have even more from them. We see revenue is up by 49.6% year on year. We also have the gross profit went up also for the year. That's a second quarter, the 2024 to second quarter 2023. Pre-tax profit also went up almost 16%. And then we see operating profit also went up. So we see a lot of greens for Lafarge. They're good for the industrial goods industry. See if that will attract investors. At the close of trade, we will see reaction to some of this. It will reflect in some of those. Apart from MTN, I think they really, they came out there to tell us it was all loss. And the FX issue hasn't helped matters for that. But more results are coming and we'll keep you informed. I'm sure Will Ibong even has some. Will. So we in fact, it's the website, NGX website, it's so busy.
There's so much inflows from earnings, from companies. The influx has been inundated. They've been inundated with earnings report.
Yes.
And I'm wondering,
it's their season.
It's the season.
Yeah, but what surprises me, Will, is that we know the issue with FX and how it's been affecting a lot of corporates in the country. So apart from a company like Airtel Africa, they were very explicit in telling us the impact of the value naira on them. We still see a lot of companies still declaring profits. I guess that's why the banks, because I spoke to the CIBN president last week about the 70% windfall tax, and the banks are like, we're not the only ones benefiting. Could you please look at the other sectors also? Perhaps you should also introduce windfall tax, on them, because, these are profits.
Yes, of course. And the banks are being targeted because maybe they're the ones maybe a bit prominent in the economy. Because you look at, a lot of gains that have been declared. It's the banking sector that are declaring impressive and, great results. So the government is looking and saying, these numbers are coming from the banking sector. So maybe we need to, get some from there as well.
I just had an idea. Why don't we also look at windfall tax for the government?
Yes.
Because at the removal of the subsidy, the earnings of the government, the figures of government increase. So can we get windfall tax from the government too, please?
It's more like we get the windfall tax and tell them to, focus it on doing something of positive good for the country.
Well,
that's actually how we'll get the tax.
I wish.
So we'll just kick off with sentiments in the market, seeing major equities in Africa doing great at intraday. Actually, sentiments were positive. We see Nigeria's NGX rebounding from the loss they saw yesterday, up 0.12% at intraday, but still at 97,000 points, inching closer to 98. Hope we, catch up very quickly. And we'll see South Africa there, up 1.6%. Very strong index there, very strong uptick. And let's look at the EGX30. In Egypt, it was also up more than 1%. That's 1.02% to be precise, up 29,000 level. And then we see Kenya closing Tuesday's session in positive territory. So it's up 1.68%. Very good numbers. But let's look at what's happening at the NGX, but we're going to be talking about details with the banking sector, focusing on it, seeing what's investor sentiments around that, especially with the ongoing bank recapitalization, the directive from the Central Bank of Nigeria. We're going to be speaking to Stanley Amuche. He's the executive director of Fidelity Bank. Good afternoon, Mr. Stanley. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Will. Good afternoon for having me.
Just very interesting what's going on right now, especially the NGX has been abuzz with, facts behind the presentations, the offerings, the public offerings, and the rights issues. Could you just break it down what this means for investors, especially, could you tell us how this has been so far, investor sentiments towards the recapitalization drive?
Okay, good. Thank you very much. From Fidelity Bank, of course, we are the first bank to come into the market. We got into the market on the 20th of June. And what we've seen is strong appetite from investors. Investors received our offer very well. So we've seen a lot of interest. Subscription is very strong. And that's what is going on. And we've also seen other banks coming to the market within this same period. So it's a very exciting time. Investors are looking at the fundamentals of all these organizations. Before investing, they look at how you've performed over the period. And I think that is also fueling the level of interest we're seeing so far.
Okay, talking about investors' interest, is this equity investment, is it a good opportunity, especially now that we have this FX, the devaluation of the Naira, so people are seeking more FX to probably shore up, their reserves and also to edge against inflation. So what opportunities are there for the capital market, especially for equities right now?
Yeah, so investing in equity is one form of investment. So the advice you want to give to any investor is to diversify your investment. So you don't want to leave all your investment in one bucket. You don't want to do only FX. There's still opportunity to be part of this because aside what we see today, if you have an organization like a bank that has very strong fundamentals, we expect a lot of inflows through payment of dividend, through capital appreciation, and that can happen even above whatever the inflation rate is today. So the fact that, yes, the FX is, we have these concerns around FX currently, it won't last forever. So what we expect investors to do is put some in FX, put some in buying property, put some in equity. This is just a way of diversifying, and that's the right thing to do for an investor. Okay,
so investors should diversify in Forex and equities, have a mixed bag of everything, not just put their eggs in one basket. But we're looking at the proposed 70% windfall tax on the gains the banks got from FX devaluation gains proposed by the federal government. How is this impacting banking operations? And do you see it impacting on banking operations and expansion plans, if there are any, for most of these domestic banks we have here?
Yeah, so we've seen concerns from investors who have asked, how does this affect you and all that? So that whole concern will be there because investors will look at, if you're investing, you want them to retain, any company you're investing, will retain their earnings and be able to pay good dividends to investors, and will create some level of appreciation because of the earnings they're accumulating and all that. But it is what it is. I think banks, there are a lot of discussions going on at different levels, even around what the percentage is. At 70, there was initially 50. So those discussions are going on as we speak. But specifically, we need to look at, every organization will look at how that impacts you as an organization. Like for us, Fidelity Bank, I think the market understands where we are, where we stand there, and that has factored into the kind of pricing the market has given into our offer. 2023 total FS revaluation for Fidelity was around 44 billion. So if you take a 70%, that gives you 31 or 30.8 billion. You take a 50, that's 22 billion. So what it means is that these are not so material to impact our ability to pay to investors or to make investors happy. So we believe that this is something, it's not a very high percentage of even our capital, if you look at our capital levels, and that will not affect our operations or our performance going forward. So those are the things I've seen that investors are looking at. And if you look at the market today and even closing numbers yesterday, you will see that the offer price for our offers is much lower, and we're still trading at a discount to the market. Market is doing close yesterday at 10 naira 50 kobo, and we're offering at 9 naira 75 kobo. That's a very good discount because the market perceives that what we're selling, the shares are selling, should be priced better or should be priced higher than the price we're coming out with. So investors are very happy with the pricing because they also see that the impact of all the windfall and all that is not very strong or very material for a Fidelity Bank, for example.
Okay, just speaking of your offer and your pricing, we saw in the news you're extending the public offer and the rights issue that you have ongoing right now. Why do you want an extension? Can you talk about that?
Okay, good. So if we recall that we started this process a lot earlier than when central bank announced the recapitalization of the industry. We got the approval of our shareholders on the 11th of August to issue 10 billion units of shares by way of public offering and 3.2 by way of right issue. This was an outcome of our capital needs assessment, which we did internally, and that was the first phase of the implementation. So that process was in flight before CBN in 2024 announced the recapitalization of the industry. So what we did, as soon as we opened to the market, we saw investors who were very interested in investing so much. And because the question was, are you going to return money? Because our appetite, if we put in all that we need, we'll see a situation where money will be returned. So being a listening bank, what we did as a bank, we had to approach shareholders, and we held an AGM on the 26th of July, that was on Friday, to ask that we increase the number of shares on offer in a way that can accommodate any oversubscription. So what we have seen happen after that, some investors are now trying to optimize their interest or their subscription. We've seen people come in to top up what they've subscribed for before. So that is what's happening now, and we're giving that opportunity to those who were concerned before about returning their money to top up, because we can then accommodate as much as possible whatever they come up with. Secondly, the NGX just started the virtual platform for subscription. We started that discussion earlier. It didn't start up to about 13 days into our offer. So most retail investors who wanted to use that platform didn't have the opportunity within the 28 days allowed. So with this extension, it gives them that opportunity again to be able to be able to subscribe through that platform. So two issues here. Those who want to top up they can do that now. And then for those retail investors that want to use the platform, they have the full 28 days to be able to achieve that. That's the essence of the extension, actually.
Okay, speaking of the NGX Invest app, can you speak about the traction Fidelity Bank and maybe other banks have had using that app for the public offer and rights issues? Has there been any clamor from investors to go online on the platform and, place their offers?
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of traction. Actually, we had some roadshows about this offer in the US and all other parts of the world. And what we're seeing that most of them, they find very cumbersome that process of filling out hard copy forms and all that. So people find it very easy to go out there, fill out the information and subscribe straight away. And then they'll be able to track, because you have the track on the platform as you apply and all that. So we're seeing a lot of traction. I think it's a very good development. That's the direction of investment and a lot of things we do today in the industry. So it's a very, very good development. And I think the traction will even grow as people begin to get used to it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stanley Amuche, Executive Director at Fidelity Bank, for sharing those insights and perspective on what's happening, especially in the banking sector. And investors got good insights on what they have to benefit from the extension of the Fidelity offer and also the banking stocks down offer. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.